Most of the decisions we make in life don't happen in isolation. We make them while watching someone else, waiting for someone else, reacting to someone else. And whether we realize it or not, our choices are shaped by the choices of the people around us. Sometimes cooperation lifts us all. Sometimes fear pulls us apart. And sometimes even the smartest people fall into patterns that make everyone lose. There is a field that explains all of this. A way of understanding human behavior, not through emotion, but through structure. Not through guesswork, but through incentives. It's called game theory, the hidden logic behind competition cooperation, trust, betrayal, and every moment where what you do depends on what someone else might do. Today we're going to explore one of the most famous ideas in all of game theory, the prisoner's dilemma, and then move beyond it to understand why real life is far more complex and far more interesting. This is not about math, it's about clarity. It's about seeing the invisible game we are all playing every day. Let's begin. Imagine two people sitting in two separate rooms, two metal chairs, two bright lights, two detectives pacing back and forth. They cannot see each other. They cannot speak. And yet, in the next few minutes, each must make a decision that will change both of their lives. They can either cooperate or betray. But here's the twist: what each one chooses will directly shape the outcome of the other. This little thought experiment is called the prisoner's dilemma. It is one of the simplest, most powerful ideas in game theory, a field that explores how people make decisions when their choices depend on the choices of others. And once you understand this idea, you begin to see it everywhere in business, in relationships, in politics, in traffic, in friendships, and in almost every moment where humans interact. Today, we are going to unfold game theory from the inside out, without equations, without jargon, without intimidation, only stories. Because game theory is not about numbers. It is about understanding people. It is about understanding yourself. Let's begin by asking a simple question. What is a game? A game, in the language of game theory, is not something you play for fun. It is any situation where multiple people make decisions, and where the outcome for each person depends on what everyone else does. You do not make decisions alone. You make decisions in a moving web of other people's decisions. Every negotiation, every conflict, every act of cooperation, every moment where you hesitate, not because you don't know what you want, but because you don't know what the other person will do. This is game theory, the logic of choice in a social world. And the clearest window into this world begins with our two prisoners. Imagine they were arrested for a serious crime. There isn't enough evidence to convict them, unless one of them talks. The police separate them into two rooms so they cannot communicate. Then each prisoner receives the same offer. If you betray the other person and they stay silent, you go free and they get the full punishment. If you both stay silent, you each receive a light sentence. But if you both betray each other, both of you get a heavy sentence. Each prisoner now sits alone with this choice. The decision seems simple at first, but the logic twists on itself quickly. If you believe the other person will stay silent, you are tempted to betray because you walk free. But if you believe the other person will betray you, should also betray because it protects you from the worst outcome. No matter what you think the other person will do, betrayal suddenly seems like the safer move. This leads to a painful and fascinating result. Two rational people trying to protect themselves often make decisions that hurt them both. They betray each other, even though mutual cooperation would have been better for them. This is the tragedy at the heart of the prisoner's dilemma, the idea that fear can destroy the possibility of trust. But the real power of this idea is not the story. It is the mirror it holds up to your life. Because variations of the prisoner's dilemma repeat around us constantly. Two companies lowering prices because each fears losing customers. Two countries building more weapons because each fears the other gaining an advantage. Two partners unwilling to apologize first because each fears appearing weak. Two co-workers refusing to help each other because each fears being taken advantage of. Two strangers in traffic refusing to let each other merge because each fears losing. Game theory reveals a harsh truth. Fear of being exploited often creates the very outcome we hope to avoid. But the story does not end there. If the prisoner's dilemma were the whole picture, cooperation would be impossible. Humanity would be trapped in cycles of mutual destruction. But game theory goes deeper. Everything changes when the game is played not once, but over and over again. This is the iterated prisoner's dilemma, the repeated game. And repetition changes everything. Imagine now the same two prisoners, but this time they face the dilemma every day, again and again. Suddenly, betrayal becomes more complicated. You might win one round by betraying, but if the other person remembers what you did and punishes you later, your victory evaporates. Reputation enters the game. Memory enters the game. Forgiveness enters the game. And cooperation becomes possible. In the 1980s, a famous study showed that the most successful strategy in repeated games was something simple and surprisingly human. It was called tit for tat. Begin with cooperation. Then simply repeat whatever the other person did last time. If they cooperate, you cooperate. If they betray you, respond in kind. Not out of revenge. Not out of anger. But to communicate one idea, I am willing to work with you, but I won't let you exploit me. This strategy is powerful because it encourages trust, but also protects against abuse. It mirrors how real relationships work. Trust grows when kindness is returned. Trust dies when kindness is exploited. The success of tit for tat taught us something profound. In repeated interactions, cooperation is not only moral, it is strategic. People who build trust win more in the long run. And this unlocks an even deeper insight. Life is not a one-time game. Almost everything important in life is repeated. Dining with the same family, working with the same team, talking with the same partner, negotiating with the same clients, sharing the road with the same community. These are not single-round games. They are long-term relationships. That means cooperation is not a sign of weakness. It is a sign of wisdom. Let's explore some examples that reveal how these dynamics shape everyday life. Imagine traffic. If everyone tries to push forward, block each other, and compete, the entire road slows down. Everyone loses time. But if people cooperate, letting others merge, moving smoothly, trusting that others will do the same, the entire traffic system becomes faster and more efficient. Now, imagine business. Two companies can either fight viciously for small advantages, constantly undercutting each other, destroying margins, or they can differentiate, collaborate, and expand the market together. The first path breeds exhaustion. The second breeds sustainable growth. Or think about relationships. Two partners arguing may each wait for the other to apologize first. Pride becomes a weapon. Silence becomes a strategy. And the relationship becomes a battlefield where no one wins. But if one person shifts from the logic of fear to the logic of cooperation, the entire dynamic changes. Game theory does not tell you how to be a perfect person, but it shows you a deeper truth about human behavior. We are not purely rational. We are scared. We are hopeful. We are reactive. We are strategic. And most importantly, we are influenced by each other. This understanding leads to an important twist. Game theory is not about winning games. It is about understanding the games you are already playing. Not every game is zero-sum, where one person's gain is another person's loss. Many of the most important games are positive-sum, where cooperation makes everyone better off. But you cannot cooperate if you do not understand the structure of the game. So here is a simple, powerful framework to apply game theory in your own life. Step 1. Identify the players and their goals. Many conflicts arise because we assume others want what we want. They usually don't. Understanding their incentives is the foundation of good strategy. Step 2. Identify whether this is a one-time game or a repeated game. In one-time games, people tend to behave selfishly. In repeated games, reputation and relationships dominate. Most of your life is a repeated game. Step 3. Look for the outcome that is best for the system, not just for you. Paradoxically, choosing the best option for everyone often results in the best outcome for you as well, because cooperation builds a world where trust pays dividends. Once you start seeing life through this lens, you notice something transformative. You don't just make choices, you shape the game itself. Sometimes the smartest move is not to outmaneuver the other player, but to change the structure of the game so that cooperation becomes the rational choice. And this is the real lesson behind game theory, a lesson that goes far beyond prisoners and detectives and hypothetical choices. Game theory teaches us that the world is not fixed. The rules are not rigid. The outcomes are not predetermined. We shape them through trust, through reputation, through long-term thinking, through generosity that encourages reciprocity, and through the understanding that most games are not about winning, but about continuing to play. If there is one idea to take from all of this, let it be this: life is a repeated game. Play in a way that makes others want to play with you again. Because in the long run, trust compounds. Cooperation compounds. Reputation compounds. And those who understand this win more than any single round could ever offer. Script ends. Game theory doesn't give you perfect answers. It doesn't tell you exactly what people will do. But it gives you something far more valuable: a new way of seeing. It reveals the incentives that pull us toward trust, or push us toward fear. It shows why cooperation is fragile, why betrayal is tempting, and why long-term relationships are built not on brilliance, but on consistency and reputation. Once you start recognizing these patterns, you begin to understand why the world works the way it does, why nations compete, why businesses clash, why friendships break, and why some people seem to move through life effortlessly while others struggle. You start to see that most of life is not a single isolated game. It is a repeated one. And in repeated games, cooperation isn't naive. It's strategic. It's sustainable. It pays off. If this episode helped you see the hidden structure behind human decisions, consider joining me for the next one. We explore ideas that reveal how the world actually works, ideas that turn complexity into clarity. Until then, remember, life is a repeated game. Play it in a way that makes others want to play with you again.